and gentlemen, please welcome Frankie Boyle!
To New World Order, the best of Series 2, in which we'll look back at some of the highs and lows of Western civilization's final summer. Joining me to discuss the series' big topics are Sarah Pascoe, Catherine Ryan, Mona Chalabi, Miles Jupp, David Baddiel, Joe Lycett, Akala, Ahir Shah, Holly Walsh, Jack Carroll, Doug Stanhope, Richard Osman, Desiree Birch, Romesh Ranganathan, Lucy Preble and Roisin Conaghy. The World Cup has started. England's group is Tunisia, Panama and Belgium. And it's going to be amazing to see a country that denies women basic human rights, a country haunted by paedophile scandals and a morally bankrupt tax haven playing against Tunisia, Panama and Belgium. Sergei Skripal has been released from hospital, the victim of the Salisbury poisoning. Salisbury poisoning to me always sounds a bit like a guest ale. Not even dead! He's not even dead. There are people coming back from a week in Faliraki who feel worse than this guy. Theresa May says that a priority is to crack down on prostate cancer because she knows that's a key demographic for her. Old people who are so old, they've sort of lost their mind, they're almost dead. She wants to keep as many of them alive as possible to vote her over the finish line. If she's really serious about prostate cancer, get Customs and Excise involved. They're already sticking their fingers up people's arses. They've got X-ray machines. Excuse me, sir, excuse me. Think you've left your phone in your pocket? And you've got cancer of the arsehole. We're not laughing at cancer, right? Obviously, if you're my age, please go and get yourself checked out because cancer doesn't discriminate, making it morally superior to Katie Hopkins. First up, in 4 years' time, Labour will lose Britain's last ever general election. I doubt the Labour Party, as it's led now, is even really left-wing. It's probably more a party of the centre-left, opposing as much as anything its own MPs who are centre-right. It's been frustrating to see how they've handled questions of anti-Semitism, because if you're going to become a government, and particularly a socialist government, you're going to have to answer a lot of questions. You'd hope that one of the simpler questions might be, do you hate Jews? David, have you been following Labour's hatred of Jews?
I have. Jeremy Corbyn does do a thing of saying always, you know, it's terrible, anti-Semitism and other racisms. And I wonder why he does that. Because if you go to an oncologist, you don't really want him to say, well, I'm going to cure cancer and shingles, don't worry, it's going to be all sorted out. You just stick to the fucking cancer, I think. Corbyn can't quite bring himself to say, I'm just bothered about Jews.
I think that's absolutely the problem. It's not just that they're bad at dealing with this, which they are, but also that it makes you think they're sort of bad at dealing with things.
Yeah. Yeah, he does say there's no room in the Labour Party for anti-Semites, and that might be because it's full. Also, when we're talking about anti-Semitism on the left, obviously it exists incredibly on the right as well.
So Labour has gone for Jewish people. The Tories are deporting black people. What's UKIP got to do right now?
An important point, actually. When I talk about anti-Semitism online or racism against Jews, some people will say it's a religion, not a race. Okay. Now, that is wrong for a number of reasons. I'm an atheist, but the Gestapo would shoot me tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, possibly today. I don't know. I might be able to hold them for a bit. But that's a very important point because what those people are doing when they say that is they're trying to downgrade anti-Semitism to religious bigotry. Because they know that racism is a really bad
It's
thing.
just using semantics to deny something's happening.
Exactly.
Well, you see a lot of that in Islamophobia as well, don't you? So like Tommy Robinson or someone will go, no, it's not their race I'm against, it's their repressive religion. It's very disrespectful to slags and benders.
Yeah.
Our next motion, on the eve of the royal wedding. We have 12 hours left to abolish the monarchy. Joe, are you looking forward to the royal wedding debacle?
Yeah, sort of am. I can't really work out what I think of it, because I think that the monarchy and marriage are both archaic institutions and a bit daft. but they're also really fun. And I feel like if you're going to have a monarchy, like do it properly and kick people off castles kind of stuff.
So what you mean is like a wedding where if he decides he wants a new wife, he'll chop this one's head off?
I would love that, wouldn't I? The fact that they're calling Meghan Markle a commoner when she's a multi-millionaire actress. I want to see Harry marry a proper commoner, like a barmaid from Tipton. Fucking hell, I'm shagging a prince.
As expected, the media has been fueling the royal wedding hype, eagerly interviewing excited members of the public determined to celebrate, with some going to baffling lengths to be a part of the big day. Here's an enlightening rundown of one fan's preparations.
Self-proclaimed royal superfan Donna Werner says she'll be flying across the Atlantic Ocean and camping outside for days in this small pink princess castle tent that she can barely fit inside.
Sleeping bag will be spare, insulation for the ground because I'm going to be sleeping on the streets for 3-4 nights, and that's where I'll be sleeping. So it only takes half my body, so my legs will be hanging out.
I just think the royals tolerate those people because in the event of a bomb, they're there to soak up the shrapnel.
I like that a lot, Frankie. Why do we only have 12 hours left?
Well, what happened was the original motion was Prince Philip will die on the day of the royal wedding as a final act of racism. They didn't like that. And we cobbled this rubbish together. Moving on. Britain is entering a golden age of racism. There's this idea that lots of people who voted for Brexit are stupid. They're not stupid. They're just people who want to put an end to immigration from Europe because they don't like Pakistanis. Nobody admits to being racist anymore. People used to be proud of it in the 80s. Now everyone's like, nah, it's not racist. It's just a Union Jack tablecloth for a street party to which we forgot to invite the Patels. Calla, what do you make of the whole Windrush scandal?
It's not a hugely new issue for migrants from the Caribbean. So it's really fascinating, but I think it does give us an opportunity to look at historical context of how Windrush was received at the time. Like when the actual boat came, the government at the time, which was Attlee's government, called the literal passengers on the Windrush an incursion and said that, steps needed to be taken to identify the ringleaders so that no further incursions were encouraged. These were British citizens, paid for themselves, in many cases war veterans.
I found it amazing how little British people knew about the history of the thing. So they didn't fully appreciate that these people came as British citizens, many of them expecting a kind of hero's welcome.
It's hard to overstate the degree to which our grandparents genuinely believe themselves to be British. If you've been to any kind of Windrush generation home, you'll see Queen Elizabeth and White Jesus. Those are the two kind of people on the wall. Yeah. That's not a stereotype. I think this is one of the great contradictions of Britain as a society, is that you have, ironically, a society that is one of probably the most successful multi-ethnic polities in the world. So you have real big successes and then massive state institutional failures. And I think, again, in this particular instance, the state misread the temperature of the public.
Absolutely. Now, Windrush shows us that ethnic minorities in Britain are treated differently by the institutions designed to protect and serve them. Here's dashcam footage uploaded to YouTube by a London DJ capturing the moment a police officer bluntly explains the nature of profiling.
This is racist. Predominantly, the criminal people do it for people. So, naturally, if you see a car full of black lads and they're maybe dressing gangster style and they're driving down there, they get stopped.
He was still cleared by the IPCC. They said that he wasn't being intentionally discriminatory. What does that even mean? And the other thing that's really interesting is he said something about gangster clothing, right? Yeah. And the problem is that something becomes gangster as soon as it's on a black person immediately, right? The guy was in a bobble hat. Doesn't get this gangster. My mom's a gangster then.
What's been characterised as a rise in violent crime has produced various different explanations. Here's David Lammy passionately explaining to the BBC what he believes could be the problem.
It feels like neighbourhood policing has vanished. It's not around you. We haven't seen a police one. I've been here, and I've been here for a little while now.
To be fair, I think the cop's just there because he's seen a black bloke with a camera. And a lot of speculation that there's going to be a snap general election in October, and Theresa May will hand over to Michael Gove, who will hand over to Ruth Davidson in a sort of endless game of musical bastards. I think that's exactly what this country deserves. This country deserves Michael Gove being elected as Prime Minister on Halloween. Michael Gove with his wee face like a foreskin being held up by two clothes pegs. I know we shouldn't attack people purely on the basis of their appearance, but for me, Michael Gove's appearance is bound up with who he is morally. Basically, I think that there's an enormous fourth-dimensional tequila worm that devours time, and Michael Gove is just the part of it that protrudes into our dimension. If you lick the slime off Michael Gove's face, you could see through time and change gender at will. Things are bad in Gaza. Things are so bad in Gaza that porn stars have started referring to their pubic arrangement as a Gaza Strip. An area that's been so brutally pummeled that no child could ever hope to crawl out alive. In America, we had this disgusting situation where children were separated from their parents on the US border. I mean, it's horrendous. They've been put in cages, sometimes 20 children to a cage, and they're sleeping under tinfoil blankets. Basically, it's a giant scratch card for paedophiles. Oh, I've got an El Salvadorian 10-year-old. I wanted a Honduran baby. It's a disgusting joke, right? But it's a disgusting situation. What am I supposed to do? Pun about it? What do we do? I mean, I think our best hope is that Trump dies in office. I actually think that there's a hope of that happening. He's got so much compacted meat in his colon that when he takes a shit, it's technically an abortion. Our next motion, Donald Trump will be the world's first crowd-funded assassination. I often wonder how he has sex, because clearly Melania doesn't touch him. So, like, what happens? I reckon once a day they send in a guy whose job it is to collect sperm from a panda, and he tricks him into mounting a set of fiberglass buttocks covered in his daughter's perfume. Are you following Trump and his madness?
Upsettingly, yes. I managed to avoid him for quite a while. Like, I used to have direct alerts on my phone every time he tweeted, and then after about 3 days realised that that was the least productive form of self-harm I've ever engaged in.
The trouble with this whole having him assassinated, or if he was assassinated, is that he would be remembered as a martyr and a hero.
Oh.
That's the flaw in this plan.
They'd make a statue.
Of course.
And then he'd have a six-pack and an 11-inch cock.
He's the thing that everyone wants to click on, he's the thing that everyone wants to watch, and that is what drives the profits and revenue for the media.
You say, I don't want to hear about it, or I want to hear positive news stories, but you click on, did she look fat in that?
Maybe we need to create articles that are, does the Syrian child dying look fat in this?
Yeah.
This is the kind of sick humour we can't tolerate. Trump even acts weirdly around the many world leaders he's forced to meet. Last month, Trump met with President Macron. Having previously been given the cold shoulder by the French leader, Trump couldn't resist showing what great pals they are now.
We do have a very special relationship. In fact, I'll get that in a piece of vinegar for... We have to make them perfect.
Merci beaucoup.
I just love that what people worried about after he got elected was that he would be normalised. You know, this is never getting normal. He's got the president of France in a fucking headlock. Like, world leaders before they come there must have to, like, role play with clowns.
Watching the clip, and I don't really understand how men work, but women don't have a hierarchical.
Oh, I see. No, it is the thing. You're absolutely right. Because 2 equals shake hands.
Hi.
Yeah, and then men who are trying to be powerful, like, and then I put my hand on you, like, I'm in. No, because I'm. Yes, hi everyone.
Who's going to be afraid on the show?
dandruff.
She's gonna be the
She's got
best.
dandruff.